And I think I figured out a better way to put my camera so I can get in a little closer. All right, so there is my album cover, my album back. And now I want some pages. I had originally planned on using this black cardstock. And that may be all I have. I may have to go with that, but I'm going to take a look and see if I've got any slightly thinner black paper that would work. Because I'm just thinking that this might end up being too thick. So we're going to go ahead with this black paper and make some pages for our photo album. And I think I'm going to use this. This is actually from sort of the end of my Creative Memories days. It's a blade cutter like this. Tiny ruler, where are you? All right, let's see. What size pages do I want? So I want my album covers to be a little bit bigger than the pages. We want some margin around them. So I'm thinking that I probably want to have my pages be about, I'm going to say 28. Looks pretty good to me. 28 gives me about 1 millimeter around. All right, 28 inches wide, 28 millimeters wide, and about 20 and a half. I better write that down. 20.5 high by, I say 28 wide. Okay. So let's start by cutting at 28. Oh, no. All right. Yeah. Oh, look. This has millimeters on it. Nice. Okay. So I get this paper lined up at, I need a bigger workspace. 28 millimeters right there. Make sure that's flat up against the top. Let's see what I'm doing there. All right, this thing cuts so nicely, just like that. Okay, there is the page width. And then for my page length, I said 20.5. It's just going to be right there. It actually comes out to the 1, 2, 3 lines before the 1 inch there. So if I just line them all up there, I think I'll be fine. Try to get them really straight. What is this? A 16th line. I'm thinking that I want to put some of these in my Etsy shop. The problem I have is my favorite part is figuring out how to make something, and then once I've made it, I kind of don't really feel like making it again. And 2 of the best-selling items in my shop are items that I made that I had so much fun figuring out how to make them and designing them and everything, and now every time I get an order for them, I have to, like, I've got them partly made, but I have to finish making them. I'm not going to say what it is, but they're so fiddly and they're so hard to make. And every time I get an order for them, instead of being like, yay, I got another order, I'm kind of like, oh, not those again. But I really should just sit down and like pound out a whole bunch of them, you know, put some good podcast on or a good movie or something and just get a whole bunch of them out. And I will do that before the Christmas season because I know I'll be too frantic to try to like make them up last minute every time I get an order for them. There's this woman I follow on Instagram who makes stuff for, I think it's pronounced Myli. It's like these little I don't know if they're German dollhouse things or something, and they're mice. I think it's a mouse family, and she makes all kinds of stuff for their houses, like little costumes and little decor pieces and stuff like that. And I've seen in her Instagram videos that she has like, it looks like just like scores of these things made up, and I think like, how do you just sit there and make this same thing over and over again? And she seems to be doing really well and having quite a successful business, so she must be doing it. I don't know. I think I'm cutting more pages than I'm going to use here, but I'm just going to keep going while I have this out. Get them all cut. Kind of can't wait to show my father-in-law this. He was sort of baffled when I asked him to send me the photographs that I knew he had, you know, in his laptop. And he couldn't quite understand what I wanted them for. So I will show him when this is all done. Okay, so I have nothing to, you know, put that piece up against to keep it straight, so I'm just going to stop there. Alright, let's see. This is probably way too many pages, because once I put pictures on this is already too thick, I think. And then when I have to put pictures on them, it's going to be even thicker. So let's kind of get a, I don't know. There are my pages, all nice and tidy. Where are my covers? Alright, so I like that width right there, right now, but remember I have to add photos, which is going to make it even thicker. So I think I'm going to take a few pages out. How many photos do I have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. And I figured that I could put probably about 2 to 3 on a page. So let's say I need 7 pages, and that's 7 sides, not 7 pages. Also, do I want to use the inside cover here? I might even be able to do that, but otherwise, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, so if I had 8 pages, and maybe we'll leave like a couple more. Maybe they haven't completely filled up the album yet, so there's some blank pages at the end. All right, that still looks good. That looks good. Okay, now this part I'm a little concerned about because somehow I have to figure out how to put these together. Now, the albums that I have seen online were actually creased here, and then they were stitched through and tied. There was like a string going through there, basically tied in a bow. And this could go really wrong, because if this doesn't work for me, it's going to mean throwing out these covers and starting over. First thing I think I'm going to do is clamp these together. Okay. Now to drill a hole. think I'm actually going to use my pin vise drill and try going at it that way. I also have an awl, that's, that's a nail set thing. That's not the awl. Where's the awl? Yeah, I feel like that tip's gonna be way too big. So I'm gonna try going at this with the pin vise drill first. And I'm just gonna use this to set this, just so I can keep it a little bit flatter. I'm gonna go from the back because I want to make sure I get in that margin right there. And I'm literally just eyeballing this. If you can see what I'm doing there. Try not to block the view. All right, that's going through nicely. Not quite through all the way. Wow, that came out really close to the edge there. I kind of went angled off a little bit. That's really close to the edge. This one's for my house, so I'm gonna go with it. I will have to be careful about that when I make them for the shop. My camera turned off because my disc was full, and that's my fault because I forgot to empty the old stuff off it from last time. I didn't think I could possibly fill up that disc. So I just wish that hole had come out a little bit closer. Alright, I think it's gonna be okay. It's, next time I'll do it not so, quite close to the edge, I think. Thinking about what kind of thread I want to use on this. I probably don't want just regular sewing thread. Let me see what I have for threads. I think the right size would be this 12 DMC cotton, pearl cotton. It's a 12 weight. Unfortunately, I don't even have a dark color. Never mind a black, and I think black would be the best. I mean, a gold would work maybe if I had gold, but I don't have that either. So I'm going to experiment with something crazy here. Can I color that with a Sharpie? I can. All right. that's working. Let's get a big enough length of this. I have a feeling it's going to stain my fingers when I'm actually working with it, but I'll let it dry a bit first. If you look at my no, not Instagram, my TikTok. My daughter, one of my daughters convinced me to start using TikTok to post some of my stuff. I did not want to get on TikTok. I don't know, I don't enjoy social media. I mean, there are people that I follow on Instagram and that they kind of amuse me, and I'll follow them for a little while, and then I'm like, okay, I've had enough of that. I just don't really love my phone. It's a necessary evil, and I don't like being on it constantly. So I didn't want to get into the TikTok thing, and I don't know, the whole concept of a 1 minute video and then you're on to the next thing and then you're on to the next thing. Like, that is so bad for our brains. But I guess it's a necessary evil if you're trying to, you know, build a business and you want to draw, try to, you know, tap into other things to draw traffic to your Etsy shop. So I get on there. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. And one of the first things I saw was somebody using a Sharpie to color their gray roots that didn't really take the dye very well. And so I thought, okay, I'll try that. So yeah, I got into trouble with TikTok like almost immediately. Not with corporate TikTok or anything like that, but I was like, I'll try that. And my hair's not black or dark brown, so I didn't use the black Sharpie. I used a brown Sharpie, and it made me look like I had bashed my head open and there was like blood stain on my scalp and my hair. So, yeah, so TikTok, I shouldn't say I got in trouble with TikTok, I should say TikTok got me in trouble right from the start. I'm too old for this garbage. Okay, I think that's enough of a length for me to work with. Yep, turn my finger black here. Okay, let that dry for a little bit. So then I need a needle. I have tapestry needles, but I'm gonna see if I can get the thread through just a regular sewing needle, because I don't want the tapestry needle eye, which is larger, to stretch a hole in my paper that's too big. Why can't I get this out of here? Come on. There we go. Still turning my fingers black a little bit, but I'm gonna rush on because I'm excited to do this. I don't know how I'm gonna get this thread through this needle. Mush it down. Mush. Flatten it out. Oh, it went through. It went through. These are those things that when you were 20, like, you just took for granted that you could do them so easily. Now they're a pain in the neck. All right, I want to tie this on the front, so come on. There we go, found the hole. That one went right through. Okay. I love the way this looks. It's so cute. I left myself a really long thread here because tying a bow I figured was going to be pretty tricky, and then I can, once I've got that tied. Okay, I think that's dry enough. Not taking my clamp off just yet. Prop it up there a little bit. This is kind of a pain with the clamp on it, but I don't want to, I don't want anything to slip out of place until I'm done tying it, so. I'm just going to keep it clamped nice and tight. Okay, how to tie a nice tight bow on something this small, I do not know. Probably don't want it super tight anyway because I need room for the pages to expand when I put the photos in. Okay, so where is my... Okay, we're gonna unclamp here because that thing's just making it too hard for me to handle, and hope for the best. Yeah, okay. Now I can at least lie it down flat. Almost got it. Almost got, where's my little tweezers? Pull that piece through. There we go. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oops, a little smaller. Tiny little bow right there. I think I'm pretty happy with the size of that. Alright, just before I... Oh, look at that. I lost a page. Oh dear. Means I had one page that I was too close to the edge. Okay, somehow or other that one was in the wrong spot. All the others seem to be okay. This is a fragile little item here. Okay, what I'm gonna do before I clip those ends is I'm gonna put just a teeny dot of glue on the knot, and I'm gonna do that under a magnifying glass just to make sure I don't get it. So you probably can't see me. I'm probably off camera for this. Did that off camera. I just did. You can still see it because it's still wet, but I did just put a teeny dot of glue on that knot to make sure that it wouldn't come undone. I'm going to trim my ends. Okay. So this ends up having just a little bit of wiggle room in there, and that's probably a good thing because we still need to put some photos in there. Now, I want this cover to actually bend. So this was a thing that I noticed in some of the images that I was looking at, was that the covers had a crease in them here. Let's see, I'm just going to stack this up here to keep it flat. What I'm trying to do with all this rigmarole is just try to make a surface that's level with the cover of my album, so that when I press this on here I have something to support it. And right about, okay, so right about there. I want to crease this cover. That's tricky. It is really tricky. Cover is very stiff because of all the layers. Alright, I think I got it though. I think I got it. So afraid of tearing through these pages. Okay, so lesson number 1, make the holes a little bit closer. Lesson number 2, do these creases in the covers before you string the whole thing together. I thought it would be easier to put the whole thing together and then do the creases, and that is not the case. Especially with that tie in there. And I feel like I'm just going to end up ripping this. Okay. I'm not going to try to crease the back. All right. So this isn't creased as neatly as I want it to be creased. I want a nice sharp fold in there so that the cover will open without pulling on this on the thread, but I just don't think that's doable. So now my thread is really close to the edge of these pages, much too close. So that's the other thing. I would make sure that those thread holes are further in so that there's a little more support to them. But now I'm going to put some photos in. I am going to cut my photos by hand because they're so tiny. I'm going to do that under a magnifying glass too because I'm an old lady. Actually doing okay with just my cheater glasses on cutting these. I'm going to look at them again under a magnifying glass though because I want to kind of put them in roughly chronological order. I'm going to try using a tape runner to put these in. Or is that going to give me a layer of thickness I don't want? I don't know. Let's try that. Oh, you know what I forgot about? I wanted to coat this album cover in something to give it a little bit of a sheen. I think I'm still going to try to do that, but I really should have done it before I got to this point. I debated about whether or not I should, ooh, that's very crooked, whether or not I should make this as a semi-custom thing where like I'll make the album, but you can send me images from your family, which I will shrink down and print out and put in here. So it'd be somewhat customized. I don't know if I want to get into that though. If I didn't have so many other obligations on my plate right now, I might do that. But I don't want to get myself in a position of being under pressure to produce something, because I do try to ship like, you know, the next business day from when I get an order. You know, definitely not more than 2 days after I get an order, and that's usually because, you know, there's a snowstorm or something like that if I'm 2 days after I get an order. And I, you know, don't want to be, okay, got an order, it's, you know, 9:30 at night, now I gotta put this together, but I also have to have my house cleaned up because tomorrow's teaching day and I have students coming to the house for lessons, or, you know, whatever it is. There's just so much that I have to do right now. I don't want to get myself trapped into having to be up late to complete an order, because me and lack of sleep is not a good combination. I love the way this looks. These pictures are all in here a little bit wonky and the edges aren't perfectly straight, but I don't know, I'm sort of enjoying that. It gives a little bit of charm that I really am enjoying. This is something, yeah, that we'll have to not, I have a feeling I'm gonna end up making this over for myself someday. I am gonna use this one in my house for now, but because I did the holes a little too close to the edge, I'm pretty sure that as this gets looked at, those holes are going to wear out and pull through, and I'll have to remake this, but that's okay. This is my prototype, and now I know what I want to do with it. Do want to see about glossing up the, oh yeah, there's another page starting to tear out already. Yep, that one just tore through the paper. Okay, so I'm not going to put any more of these pictures in right now. It's really cute. Okay, so put these, I'm going to leave those pictures. I'm just going to cover them up with something. Weigh them down under this ruler so they don't get blown around. Alright, this is a matte Mod Podge. Oh, let me go get my glossy pen, or my gold pen. That's cute. A little bit of gold in the frame. I'd like to do something in there, but I don't really know what to do in there. Alright, so I just wrote the word photos in the center of it. Okay, so I gotta admit I'm a little discouraged that I love the way this looks. It came out so cute, but I made the one mistake of putting these holes too close to the edge, and the papers are tearing out, and that's basically ruining the album. So, but I mean, that's the reality of how this goes. You do these things, and then you find out, ugh, should have done, whatever. I might be able to salvage this by putting a little glue on the end pages there. So I am going to try that. Otherwise, I'm gonna make it over again, start over. But let me try a little bit of glue. And I do want to try the Mod Podge on there. So I'm just going to push my pages back into place here. Make sure they're all back on the threads. And just rub a little glue across the ends here to try to reinforce them a little bit. It should dry clear. Because maybe I can at least, I certainly wouldn't sell one like this, but I might be able to at least use this in my own house if I can keep the pages from deteriorating any further. So I'm going to let that dry like that. This is only matte Mod Podge. I don't feel like I'm going to love this. I think I'm going to wish that I had something a little bit glossy. So before I put it on the album, I'm going to just try it on this little piece of scrap paper here and see how it dries and whether or not I like the way it looks. I think that's actually going to look good. Teeny bit. I didn't let that dry all the way, but I was blowing on it, and it was drying off enough that I could see how it was going to add just the barest hint of a sheen to this surface. My main thing is to try to keep these brush strokes from being too obvious. Yeah, I really should have done this before I put the thread on there. Try to pull my thread out of the way. Yeah, that that Mod Podge just gives it a little bit of a, it's not you know, glaringly shiny, but just gives it a little bit of a finish that makes it look less like paper. So that's cool. I really like that. Let's see how many. I don't want to disturb these pages anymore while they're drying. I do want to get the rest of my photos in there though. I'm so excited to see them all in there. Okay. Leave well enough alone, let that dry, and come back to it. I did finish an album. I'll show you that in a second. I've actually finished 2 albums now. I did make some changes to my process based on what I've learned, so let me just take you through my conclusion. So one of the first things I decided to do was to cut the pages out and put the pictures on first. Is that focusing? That was much easier to do, and I left a margin on the edge of the page. And you have to remember when you do that, that on the flip side of the page, your margin is now going to be over here. So your margin has to stay on both sides of the page. It was much easier to get the photos on when the pages were not in the book, so that was the first change I made. Another thing I did was I just took a little cocktail stick with some glue and just ran it along the edge right there, just to strengthen the pages a teeny bit. The glue that I applied on the other album, where my pages were starting to tear out, did seem to do the trick with keeping those pages in the book. So on my original album, I had this very narrow edge around the back cover. I changed the front cover so that it was a little bit smaller, and I decided to go with this kind of sizing for all of the albums in the future, and that's just preference. I just like the way that looked better. So that's another choice I made. And I'm creasing these covers. You can see the crease down the side right there using a scoring tool. So I'm doing that also before I assemble the album. I have learned to make sure that this gold pen is thoroughly dry before I put the Mod Podge on. Another little trick I found out by making a mistake. And then I'm still doing the thing where I clamp the album and the pages together in order to get the holes in there. And if you look at this one, you can see that I did the holes quite a bit closer to the crease there. So I was really careful to keep them away from the edge. And I found that for some reason the drill kind of wants to go this way, and so the holes in the back are coming out a little bit closer to the edge than the front. So I'm really having to be very conscious of keeping that drill upright and make sure that I'm going through not too close to the edge in the back. So just something to keep an eye on. And then I thread this, put it together, tie it, put a little glue on the knot right there. Make sure when you're putting your pages in that everything is upright, that you're not putting anything in backwards, none of the pictures are in the wrong direction, things like that. And I'm pretty happy with how this came out. So it was a lot of fun to figure out. I'm fortunately able to keep the first one I did and use it in my dollhouse because it's not too bad. But I am now I have a whole bunch of these. If you look at my messy desk, I have a bunch of them in progress here, which I'm getting ready to put in my Etsy shop. So thank you for coming along with me for this. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you picked up some tips and ideas. If you have any ideas or suggestions about anything that I could have or should have done to make this project work better, I would love to hear them. If you try this, I would love to see photos of the albums that you come up with. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye-bye.